So, what are wax melts? Answer. They are scented soy pods that diffuse the scent into the room without the need for a flame. How do they work if they don't need a flame? You buy a wax warmer, which is typically powered by electricity. There's a little light bulb on the inside, and then as the light bulb gets warm, it warms the dish on the top of the wax warmer, and the heat of that dish melts the wax pods until they turn into a liquid melt pool, the same as what's on the top of a candle, and then that melt pool diffuses the scent into the air. Why would someone consider buying a wax melt instead of buying a candle that has a flame? Well, for folks that live in apartments or that, for example, stay in dorm rooms where you're not allowed to have an open flame, wax melts are a great alternative because you don't break your lease agreement, but you still get to have scent being diffused into the space. They're also great for family situations where you have either kids or animals that are, boisterous and, all over the place, all over the time. I mean, it still creates a liquid melt pool, so please obviously still supervise your product. But at least this way, there's not a flame and a liquid melt pool. It's kind of a little bit more subdued. Some folks, some product entrepreneurs have also said that they find the wax melts melt slower than a candle. You can use your product for longer. I'm not 100% sure about that, but that's what's been said. The big thing is that you can use these all the way down until the dish is empty, whereas in a candle you do have to leave a little bit at the bottom so that you're not creating too much heat between the bottom of the candle and the top of your table or whatever it is that you're burning on. And visually, I mean, there's quite a lot of interest. You can see just in these top couple jars here, we have shapes, we have texture, we have color. I mean, it's just basically preference at that point. You'll notice that with Pinecone Paintbrushes, we package our wax melts in glass jars, and that's because we did not want to go the route of using traditional plastic clamshells because we want to avoid using plastic as much as possible in the business. So we opted for glass instead because it's just a little bit easier to repurpose glass in your everyday life than it is to repurpose a preformed plastic clamshell. And doing it this way allows us a little bit more flexibility because we get to use all kinds of silicone molds and ice cube trays that have these thematic shapes and texture to them. So this is the model for I'm so grateful for you. So we have stars, we have hearts, we have things to indicate brightness and celebration and you're the best, you're the star, number one. If you were to look at cucumber melon, we went with round shapes because all of those fruits are round. If you look at maple latte, we decided to go with the shape of a bundt cake because you should be having sweet cake with your sweet coffee. So it just allows us a little bit more flexibility to show off a little bit more of what we have in terms of our library for shapes and texture and color. The last thing that I wanted to talk about with respect to our wax melt and with respect to our packaging is that at the top of these jars, you will notice that there are packing peanuts at the top. These are recycled, but the reason that we put these in the jars is because sometimes, because there's different shapes with these, the fill line is not the same from one jar to the other. So if one has more of like the starfish shape, and the other one has more of the stars, and the other one has more of the small hearts, the level that they're going to be filled to is going to differ. But I don't want them to be shaking around in the jar for when you send it to your recipient, or when you give it to your recipient, you have all these ugly like soy wax streaks on the inside. So put in the packing peanuts kind of makes everybody stay nice and snug and close together, and there's no shifting and rattling around as they go through the mail. So please obviously don't melt the packing peanuts. That's not what they're there for. But just wanted to explain that in case you're surprised when you open it and go, there's all this airspace. It was intentional. Okay, that's it. I hope that covers the basics and the essentials of our wax melts, and maybe you will consider getting them instead of a candle for someone who is in a situation where flames are a little less than ideal. Thank you very much. Bye.